Hi there, this is Steve Spurrier. You can join University of Florida Hall of Famer Shane Matthews and also the two-time SEC Player of the Year every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, opinions, and some of the biggest names in sports. You can find him on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Or you can watch him live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter.
Good morning, folks. It is PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the International Diamond Center Studios, family owned and operated with the largest selection of natural diamond jewelry and the only diamond and jewelry partner of the Florida Gators. That is International Diamond Center right here in Celebration Point. We got a good show lined up today. We'll have JC. We'll have Steve Spurrier Jr., better known as Bubba around the world. Bubba Spurrier. We'll get his thoughts. He's an analyst for the Mighty Gators right now. Ain't a whole lot going on right now. Football's cranking up here pretty soon. Let's go to the Titan MR hotline, courtesy of Comfort Tent. We're joined by Johnny C. Good morning, JC.
I remember a story where Bubba and I were playing pool at the Sandy Bar, whatever it was, on A1A in Crescent Beach, and Bubba beat me for a long neck Budweiser.
I can't imagine either one of y'all. I bet he's a much better pool player than you, JC.
Well, dude, I'm not. Look, there are two.
JC, you want a little fun fact here about pool?
Sure.
You know I play left-handed?
No, really? That's interesting.
I don't know why. So when I was a youngster growing up in Cleveland, Mississippi, up in the Delta, we had a group of friends. I'm talking like this is like elementary through junior high.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was about 8 of us. We all played every sport. We all hung out. We did everything together. We played pool. We used to play pool for baseball cards.
Oh,
you'd have to bring your little box
collection of
thing of cards over, and then you had to put up what card you're going to play for.
See, there is such a thing as enjoying your life without a cell phone. It really is out there,
dude.
And I'll tell you,
you think in today's world?
No,
we're going back to my days in the Mississippi Delta.
Yes, the Delta.
So we went to church every Sunday, right?
Yeah.
You got to realize NFL games kick off what time in Mississippi?
12 o'clock.
Noon.
12 o'clock.
So when I was a little kid, my mom and dad, I'd go to the dang Sunday school or whatever for the kids. Then my mom and dad showed up. You had to go to big church. Well, I was allowed to, after the children's message, JC, I was allowed to walk my ass home by myself, which was probably 2-mile walk.
Yeah.
So I'd be home in time for the Saints to play at noon.
That's right.
But could you imagine a 5 to 8-year-old kid walking 2 miles home in today's world by themselves?
I could not. I used to take my bike miles away from home into the far reaches of the galaxy. Those days are so gone. But when I grab a guitar, QB, I do it left-handed too. It's kind of like it's just a normal thing for me. If I were going to play the guitar,
play the guitar?
I would hold the stem right-handed. Well, no, it's just that when a guy gave me a guitar to hold, and I grabbed it and I did it like this instead of like this. Not many people naturally grab it and play with their left hand. So if I were going to learn the guitar, I would learn left-handed. Okay. But your pool playing skills are definitely better than mine because there are two things I'll never do well. A, I'll never bowl well, and B, I'll never play pool well. The hands
all about angles, Jason. It's all about angles.
Yeah,
the passing game's a lot about angles. Playing point guard's about angles.
Well,
all right, so JC, I saw this. I know you got some breaking news you want to share.
No, it's not.
But real quick, I want to get to this.
Sure.
I saw this. I thought it was interesting. Dabo Swinney, I don't know if you saw what he said at ACC Media Days.
I did not.
He goes, this is his quote, "We did something last year," meaning the Clemson Tigers, "that only 4 teams in 160 years of college football have ever done."
Yeah.
Nebraska did it with Osborne. Florida State did it with Bowden. And Alabama did it with Saban. And now Clemson joins them. 14 straight 9+ winning seasons. And 13 of those were 10+ winning seasons.
Yeah.
That's pretty. I don't care who they play.
That's right.
But you know what made me think? You know who else would have been in that group?
The Mighty Gators.
if somebody wouldn't have left,
Yeah, the Mighty Gators probably.
because in coach's 12 years here,
Yeah.
every team had 9
Yeah.
or more wins.
Yeah, no, the 90s, Florida owned the 90s, with the exception of 1 year here or 1 year there when Tennessee won it and somebody else. But I think the Gators would have done that.
They
Yeah.
would have done it easily. Coach, I mean,
Yeah.
Coach
Yeah.
would have just, it would have been 9, 10 moving forward. I mean, every year. But I
Well,
thought that was interesting.
but it was very good point. Clemson did have 4 losses last year. So, they backed into I say backed in, they did win the ACC, but they didn't, they didn't seem like to me a playoff team during the season. Now they played well later, but the ACC media days, the Big Ten media days going on in Las Vegas, very sparsely attended.
Yeah.
As it relates to the SEC media days. And again, nothing special was said at the SEC media days, but when you look at the crowd of media that surround the players and coaches at, say, the SEC media days, and you compare that to what was going on in Las Vegas at the Big Ten media days, do you think anybody out there in Las Vegas gives two cents worth of a darn about Iowa and Purdue and Nebraska and Illinois? No. So anyway, they went to Vegas, I guess, to get drunk and gamble. And that's fine. That's what you do out there. Nothing wrong with that. But the big news that came down last night, it's so strange how they break these news stories at 9:30 in the evening, let's call it. But Donald Trump signs an executive order. The executive order bans the pay-for-play deals that have turned college football and basketball into basically free agency. And I sent you a tweet, QB, that kind of discussed it. But essentially, you're now not going to be able to just bid for these players are not going to go to the highest bidder, although I don't know how you can ban third-party pay-to-play payouts that were never about NIL, because it just seems like, it's a bribe to flip these players from one school to the next. So he's saying there will be no more bidding wars. There will be no more fake endorsements. And they are going to allow, obviously, the Gatorades and the Pepsis and whomever to come in and pay these guys to advertise their products. But the order also protects Olympic and scholarship sports like wrestling, swimming, gymnastics, and requires big programs to fund more non-revenue scholarships. So that's good for baseball. That's good for women's sports. That's good for a lot of things that don't get as much money. And so, there are new rules. Programs, it talks about $125 million must increase non-revenue scholarships. Okay, $50 to $125 million maintain current level. I don't know. I'm just reading this guy's passage, but basically it is, it is answering what the Supreme Court basically allowed to happen, which was throw your money around and see how many players you can buy, and that's not.
But like I said, I don't know enough about it.
Well, you can read about it.
Even if they pass this or whatever.
No,
it's still going to cheat. They're still going to be There's still going to be bagmen, JC.
Okay, I get it. So what does that mean? In all likelihood, it means there's going to be a lot more under the table cash pay. The way
which has been going on for years,
right? Which is kind of how it used to happen. But you had booster bidding wars, you have annual roster flips, you have no accountability. That's going on. And right now, the EO, the executive order, so it doesn't have to go through all this congressional approval and so on, because that never gets anywhere anytime quickly, let's just say. They're about to take the entire month of August off in the House. But the EO brings order to the madness and fairness back to the field. And basically, it's just one of those things where we're trying to get some sort of stability and control over this madness that is allowing people with money to literally go buy college play, like what's going on with this Iamaleava guy. He didn't do anything to deserve what UCLA has given him, but that's what he got. So good for him.
I think it's a very simple
kind of thing is over.
I think it's a very simple solution. I don't know if it has to deal with player unions and things of that nature. Just do it like the National Football League. It's simple.
Salary cap it.
You sign a guy.
Yeah.
He signs a contract for X amount of years. He's paid whatever you slot him at. If you want to release him, then you don't have his rights anymore. He can transfer.
He can transfer.
Until then,
yeah.
I mean, to me, it's very simple.
Well,
just follow the NFL model.
What we were watching is college sports turn into professional sports without rules.
Without rules.
Right. And so now what you're saying is exactly what I think it needs to happen as well. And, these presidents and athletic directors and administrators can make up their own rules. And if they all agree, then that becomes the law of the land in their sports. Congressional approval or whatever the president does is answering to what the Supreme Court allowed, which was a free-for-all for everybody. And so we're not going to have that free-for-all as often, hopefully, with this executive order.
31 Burr says, who are you to determine if someone deserves what they are getting paid, JC? Well, I will say this, 31 Burr, not one player in collegiate athletics is getting they're paid way more than any of them deserve. Nobody will ever change my mind of that. That's why they have to have slotted rule or dollar amounts for these players if they're going to pay them. It's simple.
Well, my response to Ember would be, then why are there salary caps? Why do the leagues have salary caps? They are controlling the amount of expense.
Exactly.
So if you have a salary cap, you are in control of your organization, which is the league. And the league is owned by the owners of the teams. And the commissioners hired by the owners to control these rules and to control the structure. And that's what we don't have in college sports. It's become a free-for-all. It's become free market, free agency, gone wild on steroids. And that is not healthy for the sport. Now, the sport is healthy. I will tell you that. People will watch it and so forth. And I'm not trying to tell somebody what the market says somebody can get. But the market has to work within parameters if there's going to be stability in the organization.
Right.
That's why
because, for example, the difference when people talking about fair market value or what you're worth or whatever somebody's, the Detroit Lions can't call up Patrick Mahomes and say, we're going to give you $500 million a year because he is under contract with another team. Yeah. College athletics is not like that.
Right. It's
somebody could call, I'm not going to use a Gator. I'm going to use Carson Beck. Somebody could call Carson Beck and say, you know what? How about we'll give you $10 million? Come play for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Boom, he's gone.
Yeah, and this is not sustainable for schools. Schools cannot continue to pour out Lamborghinis and it's not the schools necessarily, but it's the followers of the schools. And those followers are going to want something in return. They're writing these checks for favors or whatever it is they want to get back from the school. There's always a motivation to write a check for 7 figures. I don't care. Don't believe it if you don't think that's true. It is true. There's always something that's coming back to the guy writing the check. There has to be something that's under some sort of supervision to allow everybody to have a somewhat fair playing field. The fair is for pigs and blue ribbons and rides and popcorn and cotton candy. But we have to have some sort of structure or else it will burn itself down. The money will eventually run out. It always happens. These freebies always have a problem continuing when somebody else's money runs out. And then we have real disparity and chaos. And this executive order is to try to attempt to bring down the temperature a little bit on some of this ridiculous, chaotic.
Something has to be done soon because I guess in the last month, I've talked to multiple college coaches at the smaller level at SEC schools, friends of mine, and publicly they can't come out and say anything, but they're miserable because it is ridiculous when John Cornell coming out of high school X, I'm recruiting my tail off for you, and I'm having to pay you just to stay committed verbally to us and then worry about school X giving you more money while you're verbally committed before you even get on campus. I mean, it's insane.
It's chaotic. And so there's got to be some sort of structure. I think this EO is going to hold, it's going to stick, and it's going to bring some sort of control back to the institutions or back to these teams.
JC, tell me if is this just too simple? The college, I'm just using football. College football. When you sign with a school, you sign either a 2 or 3 year deal. Okay? Because you have to, when you go to college, to go to the pros, you have to be in college football for 3 years. Okay, so let's just say a 3 year deal. John Cornell signs a 3 year deal. Right. at the end, and you were paid you whatever kind of slotted. If you're a slot receiver, you're getting whatever. Work out the money.
Yeah.
But you said, like you said, there's a cap for
Yes.
the whole team.
Yes.
All right. When the season's over, we have an exit meeting, just like they do in the National Football League. You
Right.
sit down with the coach and you say, you know what? You had a hell of a year. We're excited to have you back, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? We got a guy coming in from Mississippi that's probably a little bit better than you. You can help our team. But if you want us to release you, we will release you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, we cut you, just like
Yeah.
they do in the National Football League. You become a free agent, you go into the transfer portal.
And off you go.
Right.
And so, and that's better than having all of the, the tampering that goes on while these kids are playing with their respective schools is another big problem. And that has to stop too. That's not right either. It's just not right. And so, I mean, I'm just going to make it as simple as that. It's just not right. Tampering with kids before they play in a bowl game or a playoff game.
I want you to respond to this, JC, and then I will. 31 Ember says he's referring to other people thinking that these players need to sign contracts, but he says, are you allowed to take a job with better pay? I guess meaning in the real world. This ain't the real world, people.
Well, here's the answer. The answer is yes, but I have non-compete issues to deal with. I have perhaps contractual or some sort of obligation I have to deal with my current employer. So, it's not free agent. If I wanted to leave TV 20, I would have had to give back all the money they paid me to go to a TV station 90 miles away. How ridiculous is that? And they doctored up the market to include Ocala and Lake City, but not on the books. Ocala was part of Orlando's market. Lake City was part of Jacksonville's market, but they charged advertising rates based on the idea that those two markets were part of our market, inflating artificially the size of my market to justify a freaking non-compete. So the answer to your question is no, I'm not free to go somewhere and take more money if I just wanted to without some sort of consequence, which is exactly what you're talking about here. Yeah. Let them go, pay it back, and off you go. But this thing about bidding to the high, going to the highest bidder is not college athletics, and it's not college we want it to be.
I was talking to some very good friends of mine that are very close to the Georgia program, and during the SEC media days, JC, I don't know if you're aware of this, but they had, I think, 2 or 3 players that are like the top players in America at those positions. I don't even remember the positions. And at SEC media days or the day after, where they were all verbally committed to Georgia. You know where they flipped their commitment to?
Who?
Texas.
Wow.
Because Texas is throwing crazy money at these.
And
it's not the kids' faults. That's the problem. It's not the kids.
No, but there has to be some structure to this. Otherwise, it is going to burn down at some point. It just can't continue at this level, and these coaches are not going to have it, man.
I just don't know how they do it.
Well, this is why Saban got out. It's as clear as day, and it's just nobody's enjoying that. But listen, I'm not against NIL. I don't like the chaotic jungle.
Nothing that's happening has anything
to do with it. That's right. It's not. They're not paying for the name, image, and likeness. They're buying players, and they're doing it yearly with tampering involved. You're telling me that's a healthy business environment? That's bullshit.
No, it's
not.
It's bad. It's bad.
It's very
Electronics
bad.
world.
It's unhealthy.
Integration and design specialist, smart home automation and entertainment, affordable local installation service and support. Go check them out, electronicsworld.net. We got JC here. We'll have Steve Spurrier Jr. join us in a minute. This is a text on the Titan MR text line from Kevin. He says, QB, please let JC know.
Okay.
He inspired me to lose some weight.
Ooh.
Weighed in this morning at 193, down from 250. My tummy no longer affects my golf swing.
Well done. Who said that?
Kevin.
Way to go, Kevin.
Outstanding.
You just added happiness and hopefully more time to your lifespan. God bless. And it's not easy to do. And sometimes it's okay to say, I need a little help with this. And that's kind of what I did. I threw in the towel and it worked. And now I am psychotic about missing days at the gym. Because if you take these drugs or these shots, or if you lose weight and you don't work out, you will lose muscle mass. You have to go to that gym.
You have so much muscle, JC.
I have more, according to the Sika machine, and less visceral fat than I did a year ago. And that's
Beautiful.
that's my goal. I don't want to look like a slob and just, pallet around, miserable and tired all the time. I can't live that way. So I
This
saw
day in
Pittsburgh,
sports,
that's all it took.
brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life at Campus USA Credit Union. We're a proud member, Steve Spurrier banks. I wonder if Bubba banks there. I'll ask Bubba.
Maybe I wonder if all of them go to the Campus Credit Union.
That's funny.
Oh boy.
They all go there, and they would take withdrawals out of coach's account. 2021 USA men's basketball teams. It's 25-game Olympic winning streak in. They were defeated by France in the first round in Tokyo, and nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Absolutely
nobody cares.
JC, how are we doing? I was gone all day yesterday. Had business stuff to do. I got home late last night. I looked at the golf scores. My goodness, are they playing Hill Plantation?
Yeah, they are.
This course in your state of Minnesota.
My state? No, it is.
A dude shot 11 under par.
It's freewheeling out there. And your guy Gator Up, who I also bet on Hard Rock, is right there, 3 back from this Canadian named Svensson. And it does say Canada, although he seems to have a Scandinavian last name, but he can easily be a Canadian. Anyway, Chris Gator Up, who's teeing off in about 3 minutes, is 8 under. That's your guy, Gator Up.
Boomer
Yeah, I mean, some of these other guys, Jake Knapp, did I take Knapp?
I can't believe I didn't take Jake
How
Knapp.
did we not
love
take
that guy.
Jake Knapp? What are we doing? Anyway, Jake Knapp is 7 under, and I thoroughly expect him to shoot low 60s. Another guy that I was going to take that I did not take, but I did bet on, was Emiliano Grillo. Grillo is really been close in some of these mid type of events, these events that are not considered signature events or majors, but they are very important on this tour for players to get their card or to build up their points or their money numbers and their rankings. I took Max Homa. He is 5 under. The guy doesn't putt good enough. I'm starting to think
he used to be one of the best putters on tour,
and he did. And so I don't know where that's gone. But Badia's in it. Clark is in it. Kitayama and Homa and Finau. So we'll see how it pulls out today, and then they'll probably be, the leader will be 17 under as they go into the weekend.
Daryl says on YouTube, I mean not YouTube, this is the Titan Noir text line. I hate to say it, but NIL might be in Little League and Pop Warner one day. Look, I know it's in high school already. I was at a high school the other day.
Yeah.
And in the summer how these teams do these team camps at different places, JC?
Yes.
One of the teams there, it's a state of Florida team. They are paying multiple players like $500 a month for their gas, because they live like 40 miles from this school. It's insane. It's really ridiculous.
You used to have to pay to go on these AAU trips and so forth. I remember paying money to go play for Post 16 here in the area.
But what I'm saying, no, they're paying these football players that live 30-something miles away
to come to.
I don't even think they're enrolled in school.
It's like a damn job.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. All right. Before we get you out of here and get to Bub in a second, and I don't know if you got any Peachland Dental picks you want to give people for the weekend, but Ryan has a great question here on YouTube brought to you by Quality Plumbing. He said, and I'm going to ask you this too. He said, if y'all have to go win one game this season, what QB would you choose to go win it for you? I don't know if he's talking about college or pro. I'm going to go pro, and I'm taking Pat Mahomes.
Pat Mahomes is a great pick. I'll take Joe Burrow.
Oh, I'd take him too.
And I will say this about Joe Burrow. You would do yourself well to watch this series on Netflix called Quarterback and really get inside of the life of Joe Burrow, Kirk Cousins, and Jared Goff.
I think what would be interesting about that is, like, I don't have Netflix. I've heard it's great, but 2 of those guys are married, with Burrow's not married.
Burrow's not. And you notice as the series goes by, Joe seems to be kind of in his own little world.
Yeah.
But when he's on that field, he is an assassin, and he's durable, and he's very good at what he does. Jared Goff, the same thing. Jared Goff is, a guy that was drafted first in the draft by the Rams. And then when they traded him, he felt like his career was over. And basically it was really reborn. And he explains how that worked. He married a model and they live in a house in Detroit, and she's all into his career, and it's just wonderful to watch. And Kirk Cousins too, for the older guy,
Kurt's about the most normal human being in the world.
He's much older too than these other guys, but he's got 2 kids, a wife. Yeah, it's just a tremendous insight. They give us this insight to their privacy and to their lives, and it really is entertaining. But it's also interesting to see how these guys actually do go about their world and their day, and it's very different, but it's also very similar. So I think you'll enjoy it if you watch it, if you love quarterbacks. And this is a great series. I like this one better than the first series they had with Mahomes, and I think Cousins was also on that one when he was in Minnesota.
So it's only 3 quarterbacks on this one?
Just on this one is 3, but that's enough because
those 3 are pretty damn good.
Oh, you really get a lot of good insight, and I highly suggest you watch it. Now, listen, as far as picks for the weekend, look, we're still in the July doldrums. August is going to kick in. We'll start talking about football, and baseball will start heating up, and then I'll start pulling out some winners for everybody. But it's hard for me right now. I'm in movie season. I actually went and watched a movie last night for 2 hours and 50 minutes, although I enjoyed it. Mission Impossible. I highly recommend it if you like, white knucklers. And I thought Tom Cruise, I just don't believe what he can do.
You went to the movie, JC?
I went to a movie.
How much does it cost to go to a movie now?
So it costs for 2 tickets. It was $27. My small Coke, Diet Pepsi.
Oh, that's $6.
Oh no, the Diet Pepsi at this Regal Cinema, small was this big and this wide. There was no way I drank about a quarter of it. $9.
Ooh.
So
they're making a lot of money.
It's a big event. Well, there wasn't many people in the theater, although this movie's been out since May, so that's probably why. But it was fun to watch. It was date night, and I had a fun time watching a movie in a movie theater, although it was awfully long for me. So.
All right, real quick, Rick in Jupiter on the Titan Mart text line says, "Hey Shane, maybe I am being a bit pessimistic, but it feels like Miami has our number. How can we turn it around and be the butt kicker this time versus getting our butt whooped again? Also, if they lose to Miami, do you think Napier is on borrowed time?" No. Look, I get it. I want to beat Miami too. I'm more concerned about the week before the LSU game.
Yeah. Look, Miami had the best player on the field last year. He won't be there. And maybe Florida has the best player on the field this year. So try to be optimistic about it. Listen, there's no home field advantage for Miami in that game. So know that. It's not like you're going to Tennessee. So, you're following that game up after an LSU game that I think, and you agree, is certainly, I think, in terms of the schedule and everything else, more important to win if you had to put them both. They're both important to win, but you want to win those conference games, obviously.
Well, if we can go 3-1, which I think would be phenomenal, I will take a loss to Miami and 3 wins over those other jokers.
There you go. Mm-hmm.
JC, have you ever seen, I think I talked about this last year at Big Ten Media Day, Deshaun Foster, the old running back who's now the coach. Have you ever seen him speak at the podium?
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
It's as bad as I've ever seen.
It's pretty bad.
Look, I'm not taking a shot at him because some people are not good in front of people. But there ain't nobody there, first of all. But last year, I'll never forget, he got there, he goes, "We are UCLA.
I am the coach.
Located in Los Angeles." Well, this year is just as bad talking about his quarterback, but I saw that on Twitter and I about died.
There's very little coming out of that man in terms of information. But listen, he knows what he's got to do. I don't know if they're good enough to win more than 6 games again this year. Who knows? But it's funny. Yes, my name is Deshaun Foster. I'm the head coach.
We are in Los Angeles.
We play our first game at so-and-so.
31 Amber wants to know how many SEC teams have new QBs this year.
Oh, I'd have to look in my book.
Well, let's do this. Alabama.
Auburn.
Kentucky,
Georgia. Tennessee.
Ole Miss. Tennessee.
Arkansas?
Arkansas got their same guy back.
Okay. Oklahoma.
Oklahoma does. Missouri does.
Yeah. What about Kentucky? Did we say that?
Yes. Kentucky has a new quarterback every year.
Every year, yeah. True. Missouri, you said that.
It'd probably be easier if we said who has a returning quarterback. I would say the Gators, LSU,
South Carolina, Vanderbilt,
Vandy,
and
I'm going to say Texas, even though
LSU.
Yeah, Arch was there. He played a little bit, so he's not their starter returning, but there's a lot that have new quarterbacks.
It's going to be fun to see all these new players, and I definitely think Florida's depth this year is going to be you're going to be able to notice it. They'll be a lot better. Most talent he's ever had on a roster since he's been here. So we'll see how he does. But I think he's going to do very well. I think Florida's going to do well. I do. I just think that because I love the offense, and I think the defense will be good enough. I'll just go with that. We'll see.
You know, I'm coming around with our defensive line. I think if they stay healthy, they got a chance to be pretty good.
Yeah,
we got Bubba on the line, JC.
Okay,
we got to go.
Right.
We got to go. We're gonna take a quick timeout. Have a good weekend. That's JC.
Okay.
Quick timeout. Come back. We'll be joined by Steve Spurrier Jr. You're watching, listening, PodUp Matthews in the morning from the International Diamond Center Studios. We'll be right back. Our premium sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, International Diamond Center, Meldon Law, QC Kinetics, UF Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute, JF Hayden Craft Liqueurs, Florida Cracker Kitchen, Los Linderos Tequila. Gridiron sponsors are Baker Sporting Goods, Comfort Temp, Electronics World, Florida Victorious, Gallo Car Wash, Miapa Latin Cafe, Peachland Dental, Quality Plumbing, Ruse Ogre State Farm, Silverback Concrete, 84 Lumber, Big Mills Cheesesteak, Celebrate Primary Care, Dowling Sign, Gator Bait Media, Gator Dominoes, Ironwood Golf Course, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, UF Bookstores, Nest and Wow, MG&A Wealth Management. Watch and listen to us live on Facebook and YouTube. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. To become a sponsor, call my man Freddie at 352-284-3733.
Oh, all the way from the North Pole. It's me, Santa Claus. Oh, I'm here with my friend Steve Spurrier for an amazing Christmas in July offer.
Spurrier's Gridiron gift cards are on sale for 20% off.
Coach, how do they get them?
You can go to Spurriers.com and order a digital card or stop by my restaurant in Celebration Point and pick some up today.
Thanks for being my holiday helper in July, Coach. Hurry, this special Christmas in July offer is for this month only. Ho, ho, ho.
The most important thing I learned from my father was work ethic and integrity. Never veer away from integrity, even if it costs you money.
International Diamond Center owner Keith LeClaire.
The core value for IDC is to protect the customer.
That means offering the largest selection, uncompromising quality, the strongest warranties, and honest guidance from experts who are not paid on commission. International Diamond Center at Celebration Point. Online, shopidc.com.
What's up, everyone? I'm Mike Pouncey, and this is my twin brother Marquise Pouncey, and this is Life After Football. Let's go. We are the owners of Tropical Distillery, and JF Hayden's is our liqueur brand. We have 5 different flavors: a mango, a lychee, an espresso, citrus, and key lime pie. We pride ourselves on not only being a Florida-made brand, but also a cocktail solution. With that being said, cheers and go Gators.
Welcome back to the International Diamond Center Studios. Florida Crackers, the brand for original Floridians. Great food and Southern hospitality in the center of the universe, Brooksville, Florida. FloridaCracker.com. Back to the Titan Number hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. We're joined by Steve Spurrier Jr., who's now an analyst slash coach, whatever you want to call him, with the Mighty Gators. What's going on, Bob? How you doing, my man?
I'm doing well, Shane. How you doing?
Doing good. Appreciate you taking the time. Before we talk about the Gators, I've always wanted to ask you this. Obviously, you've been coaching a long time. You coached with a lot of good football coaches and teams. But, I mean, when you look at 3 of the head coaches that you coached under, obviously your dad, Bobby Stoops, and Mike Leach. I mean, that's 3 Hall of Famers. Tell us how they're alike and how they're different. I think most people know Leach was a little bit different, but just give us a little insight of those 3 guys.
Yeah, I'm kind of extremely spoiled in the profession to have worked for 3 of the greatest men. I mean, 3 of the greatest guys, the greatest family guys, the guys that, didn't stay up all night and yell at everybody. And then 3 of the guys that won the most games, that won a lot. That's a very odd combination in coaching to have had the opportunity to get golly, about 20 something years of coaching in with. So very fortunate about that. All of them had a really great plan for what they wanted to do. And all of them had like a sense of how to get things done. All of them had a real, a feel for the team, when to be harder on them, when to lighten up on them, when to, they never lost that pulse of exactly where the team is and where they need to be. All of them. Mike Leach had a remarkable feel of exactly where the team was all the time. And then another thing I like to say about all three of them, they were always extremely consistent with who they were and what their expectation was and what our plan was to win. This is how we're going to do it. They never wavered from that, none of them. And they were all great in so many ways, but this is how it's done. And when it's not done this way, we're going to struggle. And we didn't do as well, but we got back to what the defining moments are, what it takes to win football games. And I was extremely blessed to have the years I had with those three men.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, I think the most people on the outside, they've heard about how coaches grind for hours and hours and hours, and I know people know that your dad wasn't like that. Get your work done, go spend time with a family, and I think Stoops took that when he was here with Coach, and then obviously Leach.
Yep.
I mean, it's funny how you can do it many different ways. And those guys got their work done and went home. They didn't stay at the office all night long.
Yeah, no, one thing, as you know, my father always preached was balance. Can you have balance in your life? Can you spend time with your family? Can you do your job? Can you have an extracurricular activity? Can you take care of your health? Can you balance all those things out? And he certainly could do it. Yeah, some of the Bob Stoops stories are always great because he came from Kansas State with Bill Snyder, and he was a grinder, and he was a guy that stayed on them all the time about what they had to do. So yeah, there were a lot of stories where one of the first spring ball weeks, Coach Stoops asked my father, he said, there's a scrimmage on Saturday. Are there any situations? You got any number of downs? You got any, the ones and twos? He asked him about 10 questions on how he wanted how was this practice? It was just a scrimmage on Saturday, how he wanted this done. And he said, Stoopsy, we're going to put the ball in the 30 and we'll go from there.
That's right.
And he patted him on the back and he kept walking. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways to do it. But yeah, the people that really know what they want to do, and those three men really had a good grasp of who they are and what they wanted to do and how they wanted the program run.
Yeah. We got a text here on the Titan Mark text line from Jimmy. He wants to know, Coach Spurrier, you have coached a lot of receivers in your career. Who would you put at the top of your list?
Alshon Jeffrey to me was one of the best. Now going back when I was here at Florida, I was a graduate assistant. So I don't claim Ike Hilliard, Riddell Anthony, and Jacquez Green. And if I could, those three would be up there pretty high. Those were three of the most talented dudes I'd ever watched play the game. And for them to be on the same team and a lot of the highlights they had, I was always amazed at how impressive they were. But my years at South Carolina, and I got to coach a bunch of good ones there. I mean, golly, Ace Sanders, I talked to him the other day, but Sidney Rice, Pharaoh Cooper, Demir Bird. I mean, there were 6 or 7 receivers off those teams that played in the NFL. But Alshon, who came in at 6'4", about 230 pounds, worked about as hard as anybody I'd ever seen work, and just you couldn't cover him. So some of the plays he made against Alabama, I mean, I think he single-handedly kind of beat them. That's when Steven Garcia completed about 12 passes. He was 12 of 16 or something. But Alshon had about 6 catches for 130 yards and I think two touchdowns, 2 or 3. But yeah, he was the most gifted, worked the hardest, and was the most talented guy I think that I got the opportunity to coach.
All right, we got a Facebook Live brought to you by Melvin Law. And you've heard this from me before. This comes from Andy. He says, with the skill and depth of all our wide receivers, will we ever get at least 4 of those guys on the field at the same time?
I believe we will. And it is an elite group. Watching those guys play and what they can do. And there's several of them. I mean, there's 5, 6, 7 guys I truly believe are talented enough to play in the SEC this year on this roster. So we're going to find out what's best for us and what our offense can execute the best. But if we have an opportunity to see 4 guys on the field, I think that might happen as we get rolling this year.
Bill's question here on the Titan MR text line is, Steve, what is your role with the Gators? And give me your thoughts on NIL.
I am the analyst. I work with the quarterback, so I work with Ryan O'Hara and get an opportunity to work with all those guys. And I work with Coach Napier. When Coach Napier hired me, and he said, I want you to bring in a new set of eyes, give me a fresh vision on what we do and what your opinions of it are. And then he also said, he said, I think you got some Gator blood in you. And I appreciate that. And that's what we're looking for. He hired several guys that have some ties to Florida and that are kind of vested in the program. So I'm certainly vested, and I want to see this place do as great as it can possibly do. NIL is what it is, and I kind of like telling the story that Nick Saban kind of came out with, and he said, I love coaching, I love recruiting, I think players should get paid. He said, but the business of negotiating with all these guys twice a year is it's not football, and I think NIL ran him out of coaching. He wasn't going to do it. But I think it is what it is. And if you ever hear a coach complain about it, and I've heard several coaches, I've heard several basketball coaches, usually they get fired. So it is what it is, and you better adapt to it, and you better figure out a way to make it work for your program. And I spent the last couple of years in Tulsa where we didn't have a lot of money. And then if we had a good player, you're going to lose him. And that was the world we were in. So for teams that are a little bit smaller, I really feel bad for them because it's very hard to build a program. But then it is what it is, and we're going to play next year. And you have to build the team the best you can with whatever you have. And your ability to evaluate players on other teams has to really be good because you got to build a new team, and you got to do the best you can. Sean Elliott's a good friend of mine. That he was the head coach at Georgia State, and he left to go be the tight end coach in South Carolina. And he said, I went 2 years in a row where I lost 10 of my best players. And he said, we worked our butts off to recruit those guys, and we worked our butts off to coach them, and they were good players. And then at the end of the second year, we had to start all over. We had to go find new players, find new transfers, and hope we did a good job evaluating and hope we got the guys that can help us win next year. And it just kind of wears on you after a while. But it is what it is. They're trying to put a cap on it to moderate it a little bit the best they can. But I do think players should get paid. There's a lot of money in college athletics right now. And hopefully they find a way to kind of even it out a little bit where, the majority of teams are competing at the same level. Hopefully we get to an honest cap that kind of mocks the NFL for whatever degree that can imitate it.
Silverback Concrete builds firm foundation for generations. You stand on it. We stand by it. A few more minutes with Steve Spurrier Jr. on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline. Large Fries question on YouTube brought to you by Quality Plumbing says, the HBC would throw his visor when disappointed on the field. What did he do when he was disappointed with the kids at home? Ping pong paddles, switches, belts.
You know what? I don't ever remember him getting too mad at home. The standard that you live was probably a little tougher than what I lived. His quarterbacks were held to a pretty high standard. But at home, I remember my mother would get the wooden spoon out every now and then. She had a problem with Lisa, Amy, or I. I don't remember any visors getting thrown at the house when I threw a bad route. I didn't have too many of those problems.
31M Burr on YouTube brought to you by Quality Plumbing says, can you get Billy to wear a visor?
Does he wear anything?
He doesn't wear a hat or visor even at practice. Yeah,
I've noticed that. Now I was curious. Most head coaches kind of have a standard look that they like to go by that's there. So I don't think I'm going to be going out of my way to force him to do anything that he's not used to doing, whatever he's not used to wearing. So whatever he is and whatever he's comfortable in on game day will probably be what he continues to do.
No doubt. Speaking of the Gator quarterback room, George here wants to know your thoughts on DJ Lagway and the rest of the room.
I tell you, DJ is a really, really sharp, really talented young man. And again, he's 6'4", 243 pounds, I think. I think Sellers, I saw Sellers this summer when he came down to Gainesville for that award. He said he weighs 245. And those guys are very similar in their look. They both look like they weigh about 220. They're both kind of lean but they're thick, and that's what I think kind of that elite quarterback frame kind of looks like. But I'm always impressed of how intelligent he is. I think he's really sharp to the offense, and how he recalls through the plays and what we're doing and how we read it, and he doesn't hesitate in his process and his knowledge of this offense, which I think is awesome. And then his ability to throw the ball is, you just watch his core and you watch how strong he is, and I'm amazed how accurate his deep balls are. Because he can kind of take his steps and set and fire the ball all over the field, and he made a lot of elite plays last year that were really impressive. So now looking for him to really, really have a great year, and what he did last year is his first year and kind of coming off the bench and winning those last 4 games was great for the team and great for him. And I'm really impressed with everything he does, and I'm looking forward to watching him go this year. And then the other guys, you got Aiden Warner there, and you got Harrison Bailey. Both those guys I think are really good players. And because we live in this NIL world, you rarely have an elite backup that stays. And I think both these guys are really talented players. But stacking quarterbacks will no longer happen. There's always a quarterback that has a father that says you need to go somewhere else and go play, and this is how much they're going to pay you. So that's it's a different world in that regard. But I think both those guys are good players. They'll get an opportunity to compete in this preseason to see who the backup's going to be. But I think we can win with either one of those guys, and I think it's a good room. I think Coach O'Hara does an excellent job with those guys, and the offense is growing on me. I'm what we're trying to do, and what Coach Callaway and Coach Napier, what the foundation of this offense is, and what it allows the guys to do, I think is outstanding. And I think we're going to have the offensive line. I think we're going to have the running backs. I think we're going to have the receivers. And I think what we ask those tight ends to do, I think they're excellent at it. So it's going to be a fun year offensively. I'm looking forward to being a part of it.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, here we go. Last thing, we'll get you out of here. James on the Titan our text line. He says, do you think your dad ever regrets leaving Florida?
That's a question for my dad, but he was here, 11, 12 years.
Well, yeah.
And I think there's certain times in life you kind of want to know what the next challenge is, and you honestly could answer that as well as anybody. But he had 12 awesome years here, and that's extremely rare. And I'll tell you somebody else told me this once, and it was when my father went back to South Carolina for something or another. And the guy looked at me and he said, do you know how rare it is that a head coach can go back to a school he coached at and he's welcomed there? And he said, your father is extremely welcomed at Florida and South Carolina.
And Duke.
That's really rare. And Duke. And I said, that's really rare. That doesn't happen very often. So the majority of coaches that leave after they stayed too long, after they lost too many games, and people wanted to fire him. So I think the fact that he left on a positive note, and I think his memories were awesome here, and I don't think he has any regrets with what he's done and how he's done it, and he enjoys. He goes back to South Carolina 4 or 5 times a year, tries to get back to Duke every year, and certainly he's a Gainesville native and a true Gator, and he loves his association to all 3 of those programs as much as he can be involved in them.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, when you were in Oklahoma in your days, y'all were in the Big 12, and obviously the game has changed in the last few years. I mean, these athletes are getting so much bigger, faster, and stronger. It's crazy. But what was the biggest difference, in your opinion, back when you were coaching the Big 12 and in the SEC?
Defensive linemen. And it's easy to kind of say that, but I'll never forget when you were in the Big 12 and you threw a screen pass, you could always run it right back toward the middle of the field and make a few guys miss, and those were always really good plays. Yeah. And in the SEC, anytime you threw a screen, and even today, anytime you throw a screen pass that brings the receiver back toward the middle of the field, there's 3 defensive linemen that nail it, and they all can put their foot in the ground and redirect and come back and get the guy. And I just always remember that being such a specific difference. I think the overall depth is probably a little greater in the SEC, just the number of pure athletes that keep showing up. But I mean, all those conferences are good. And, back in the day, there was always an elite receiver. There was always an elite running back in the Big 12. There was always a lot of comparable talent at particular positions. But overall depth and defensive line, I thought was something that has always been a little different in the SEC.
Large Fry, last question here on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, says, did your dad inherit the visor tradition or did he start it? I would say he started it.
I would certainly say started it. I don't remember anybody else wearing them. And then, I think there was a piece of it that he played golf and that only golfers kind of wore visors back then.
Correct.
And I think there was a piece of people, of other coaches that kind of criticized him for kind of dressing like a golfer. Yeah. Like, who do you think you are? Like, you can't walk into here and dress like that. And it's authentically who he was, and it's authentically who he wanted to be. And he never felt like he had to fit in. He never felt like there was something he had to do that other people were doing to be accepted, to be successful. And he does. And he goes back to, whoever started that statement. If you're going to be successful in life, you have to be better at anyone else that's doing that same thing, or you have to do something a little bit different. And I always felt, and he always felt, that he would find a way to do things his way that were a little bit different that he believed in. And certainly that was a good decision over the years.
Yeah. Well, appreciate you taking the time to join us. Glad you're on the staff. Obviously, as we mentioned, you can bring something, new eyes, new ideas to this coaching staff. You've been around a lot of successful coaches. But appreciate you taking the time, and we'll see you in a few weeks at practice.
All right. Sounds great, Shane. Always good to be a Gator.
Yes, indeed. That's Steve Spurrier Jr. Join us on the Tight Number Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. Injuries occur whenever and however, and it's never convenient. Sprains, strains, and minor fractures. UF Health OrthoCare makes it convenient for you. 7 days a week, including evenings. Walk-ins are welcome. That's UF Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Again, I want to thank JC and Steve Spurrier Jr. for joining us. I think it's great that he's back here. As he mentioned, coaching under his dad for all those years, then being with Stoops and with Mike Leach. 3 Hall of Fame coaches, although I don't know if Stoops and Leach are actually in the Hall of Fame yet, but they will go into the Hall of Fame at some point. Won a lot of football games and did it the right way and a unique way. And I think that's sometimes good to have different kind of guys on your staff that can bring